Welcome to Aging Revolution. My name is Mynes. Today I am joined with Suzanne Malm. Susanna has extensive experience in caregiving and its intersection with mental health. In addition to her lived experience, Susanna has volunteered with the National Alliance on Mental Illness and is pursuing her PhD in the related subject. Susanna, what can you tell us about yourself?
Hi. Gosh, there's a lot to tell. I'll try to be short. First, I'm a mom of three absolutely amazing boys, rowdy boys, but great boys in their late 20s. I taught special education for 35 years and sign language. Um, I guess the most exciting thing about myself is that I was a ski racer. I loved going racing downhill, and then I became a ski jumper. I didn't always stick my landings, so that's why I walk the way I do, and I can't ski anymore. But I was a baseball coach and a soccer coach for many years. That's what happens when you're the mother of three boys. Um, and other than that, I think that I'm just the luckiest person on earth to be able to embrace my husband and my son's struggles.
When people hear the word caregiver, what do you think they often misunderstand?
Most everything. I have to say that in all honesty. It Caregiving to a lot of people is taking care of your grandmother, helping someone eat, helping someone dress and bathe and those kinds of things. And it's mostly physical. This is just the general public. But I think, and also this morning at our dementia caregivers meeting, I asked this question, and someone said the most misunderstood thing that they think about caregiving is people think it's a choice. I've decided to take care of my grandmother or help. It is often and most often not a choice. For instance, in my particular instance, my husband has dementia and my son has a mental health condition. And when I retired, my choice was going to be an island and maybe a margarita. Instead, I had to embrace something entirely different. I had to embrace the fact that it was not a choice. It was my privilege to share the journey and walk alongside my husband with his dementia and my son with his mental health condition. So I think also people expect us to just handle it. That's another misunderstood concept is, oh, you're fine. Everything's fine. And your health, he doesn't seem so bad. He's just fine. Well, okay. Let me give you my shoes to walk in for a half a mile. And I don't think people understand the emotional toll. That's probably the biggest thing that I could say from my heart is depending on who it is you're caregiving for, you are basically, first of all, losing the person or you've already lost them and this is the new person. And you've lost your former relationship with that person. So people don't understand that, why are you being a little edgy at him when he can't remember to shut the refrigerator door and it's open and the first, why are you edgy? It's not his fault. Well, he's my husband. He used to be able to do that. And why, when he comes over and gives you a kiss on the cheek, are you like, okay, goodbye, good night? It's because he's still the same husband, but I have changed my role. He hasn't changed his. So people don't understand if you're a little edgy, it's not that you're being mean or cruel. It's that not by choice, you have evolved into another relationship and the person is different and you miss that person deeply, but they're right in front of you. So I think what to me is the most misunderstood is that you might be resentful because you wanted to be on that island, but nope, I'm here every day in my home, loving these two people. But, and I don't mind saying it, there's the what about me? What about my needs? I know we talk a lot about self-giving, caregiving, self-care, and do for yourself and do for yourself. But in the end, people don't realize that the toll that it takes on us as a person, because I just shared with you, I used to be a skier. I used to do this. I used to do that. Well, the used is getting smaller and smaller. And so what happens is people don't understand. My son maybe he doesn't understand why when I text him 2 or 3 times a week and go, hi, I love you. I'm like, talk to me. My life is getting smaller and your life is getting bigger. Yeah. Talk to me. And sure, we have friends but we tend to, maybe I can't do that today because I'm just exhausted. So people don't understand that too. And this is a long-winded answer to a short question, but it really is it encapsulates everything, what people don't understand. In the meeting this morning in our dementia caregiver support group this morning, what I just came from, I asked that question, and the one lady said, "I'm just so exhausted. But yet I got up and I did this and this, and then I went to sleep and I went to 4 days. I'm exhausted, and it's not even physical exhaustion, it's mental exhaustion because we love this person, but we don't know how to do it. There's no manual that says this is going to happen today and they're going to be doing really well, and then the next day they're not. And then this person may have the capacity today, but not the capacity tomorrow. So you have to give them grace. Capacity one day does not have anything to do with capacity an hour later. People don't get that. They do not get it. So if anybody takes anything away, I'm kind of starting at the end here. If anybody takes anything away from us chatting today, I hope it's, if you are not a caregiver and you know someone who's a caregiver, give them grace and understand that you won't understand.
We always say here at Job Ed that caregiving is not the type of thing that you could try to do on your own. And unfortunately, many people are put into positions where they have to carry it on their own. That's why things like support groups are just so valuable, because it gives you the chance to not even necessarily have someone who can be there doing it with you, but it gives you that time to be able to share those feelings and be able to get out those annoyances and those things that you're like, what about me? You know, that your support group is the chance for you to do that and to have that point. So yeah, it's
The
definitely.
support group has been the biggest thing. I started out going to the support group, and then I facilitated only because they wanted more. They were like, we can't meet just once a month. Let's do more. And I'm like, well, let's just do this. Let's just get together and have coffee and chit chat. And boy, I tell you, we get really deep. But this one lady who really was struggling today was really sharing. I can't do this anymore. She actually exhaled at the end of talking. It was one long sentence for like 10 minutes. She exhaled and she goes, wow, I feel better.
Yeah.
And that's all we can do.
That's all you need sometimes.
That's all we can do sometimes.
We kind of got into this, but why is it important to talk about caregiving as a mental health issue and not just as a medical one?
Because I would say, takes such a toll on our mental health. Yeah. And caregiving, and it depends on what kind of caregiving you're talking about, because there's the debate, if you will say, as whether mental health is medical because it involves the organ, the brain, or is it mental? It's all the brain. It's all mental and medical. It is. It's, to me, it's all enmeshed. And so I think when you mention medical, or I always say medical and, because I probably have spent the better part of my post-working life, just a few years, trying to help people understand that. People that come to the other support group that I work with, the NAMI mental health support group, trying to understand that neither are medical or mental. It's all the same. And there's research basis, there's DNA, there's all kind. You can find it in the literature if you so choose to support both. But when someone tells me, well, your son ought to have control over that because, it's in his brain. He's got the physical capability. I grit my teeth and I smile and I say, well, it's this thing called capacity. And capacity, and I read somewhere once, this fascinated me. It said, a person with a mental health condition, their illness allows them to do certain things, and then it doesn't. And it's not them doing it or not, it's their illness releasing and pulling back. And to me, that was fascinating because I was a teacher. I'm a very visual person, and I could just see sometimes, sure, I'll mow the lawn, and off he goes and he mows it. And some days I get halfway down the hall and I get pulled back by, I really need to lay down some more. But yet other people, maybe his dad, would say, but you started it yesterday. Why can't you do it today? And it's because it's not medical, it's not mental, it's everything. It's everything. We have to talk about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, people don't know. Ignorance is not bliss.
No.
Ignorance is judgmental because we don't have all the facts or information to then go, oh, wait a minute. Let me think about that for a minute. And that's all we're asking people to do, is think about it.
Yeah. You just have open ears and listen and take it in. Yeah, exactly. So in the beginning, we talked about how caregiving is often misunderstood, and how in that there are a lot of not so great feelings that can come out of being a caregiver. How do you think those emotions like grief and anger and resentment show up in caregiving, and why can they be so hard to talk about?
That came up this morning in the in our support group. Um, Grief is the hardest, and truth be told, it's all grief. Um, I can tell you right now, I'm grieving the loss of my husband, and he's standing right in front of me. And I'm like, even though I have to say to myself, well, I'm older, I can't ski anymore, so why would I grieve not skiing with him? Neither of us can. That's natural aging. But losing your loved one that was your partner in marriage, holding the hands, feeling that love. When you become someone's caregiver, your role changes, as I mentioned earlier. You're more caregiving now. You're not feeling that, so the resentment comes in. You're grieving the loss of your husband as it was, and on your wedding day, which after 30 some years, everybody probably is grieving that stuff. It's not so unusual, but you're grieving the loss of who the other person was, and that's, I think, where the resentment comes in. Well, why can't I? I said the other. I'll give this example. We went to it was a nighttime church thing for youth, and my friends belonged to the church. They said, come on, it'll be fun, there'll be music. And my husband went, and we sat there, and there was great music, and I looked over, and he was singing along, something that was in his brain. And the next night I said, come on, let's go back. And he said, no, I don't want to. And I'm like, why? I didn't know. I was getting out, not angry, but frustrated is a better word. I was frustrated because I planned this so he'd have something fun to do, and he's a strong person in his faith. This will help him. And it's also, that's another thing for caregivers people don't know. It's a lot of work to pre-plan every minute of every second of someone's day to help them stay engaged. Yeah. Oh, that's bad. I forgot to say that. But so I was frustrated that he was not wanting to go back, because I had thought I had found the perfect thing. It's outside. We sit at a picnic table. It's music. He doesn't have to speak, interact, remember nothing. There was nothing that he had to do but be present. And he seemed okay the first night. So the second night, he said, I don't want to go. I'm like, that was just a shock to me. Why don't you want to go? I said, I couldn't help it. Why did you want to go? And he said, because I don't understand it. And I just saw it. I had to go. I had to excuse myself and go to the bathroom and cry. He's like, where are you going? I'm like, I don't know, I'll be right back. And I went in the bathroom, and I cried like a baby, because even though I know it, and that's another thing about caregiving, it all stems back to that first question. People don't understand that we have this thing we put up. It's not a wall. It's just, I'm strong, I'm tough, I can do this. I have to be happy so they're happy. I can't let them see me weak because they're weak. Yeah. Well, that's a crock because they don't see me in the bathroom crying. But when my husband said those words, I don't understand it, I knew when he said it, oh, that's part of dementia. But to see the person, and as my son that has a mental health disorder, he's so wonderful, and he puts it so beautifully. You can see my husband's condition, but not his own. Oh, yes. I love it because he's so awesome. And he'll say, Mom, it's okay. And I'm like, no, but, and he'll say, because Dad's fading. Mm-hmm. But to see or hear something that demonstrates that fading is really hard to take. Yeah. And there are people that might be listening to this that will say, well, my loved one is now in a assisted living or memory care, or, having much more difficulty, and the fading's been going on. But when you're in the middle of the fading and you see and feel the fading, that's a caregiver moment nobody can tell you to prepare for. Yeah. So that anger, resentment, sadness, the emotion, it's emotions that you never thought you'd experience. Mm-hmm. But I will tell you, there's always a bright side to everything. Everything has a bright side. And the bright side is my son with a mental health condition is teaching me how to understand my husband, because I'm going, I can't do this, I'm crying. And he's like, no, mom, it's part of what, and I'm like, wait a minute. So guess what? In all this sadness, there's beauty, because my son has purpose. Yeah. And his purpose is to see me fall and falter and fail at my, I'm tough, I got this. No, I'm not. But my son is stepping up. Who'd have ever thought that my son would step up and go? And sometimes he goes, when I get frustrated, what's that other word you use? Resentment. Mm-hmm. The refrigerator lights on, shut the door. Who'd have ever thought my son would quietly step over to me and say, Mom, Dad has a brain disorder. He's got a traumatic brain injury. Mom, be patient. For my son to be able to encapsulate all my feelings and see them and feel them and gently step over to me and say, Mom. My husband was hit by a car, by the way. He was a pedestrian. He was struck by a drunk driver. So his life is forever changed. But my son will remind me, Dad was hit by a car, Mom. He can't think straight. But what's funny is it's the irony that my son has trouble thinking straight when he can't take the trash out. But you know what? There's so much good in this.
It's like anticipatory grief.
Yeah.
We usually talk about anticipatory grief. If you don't know, listening, it's the grief that you feel knowing that the person that you care for is. Usually we use it when we know somebody is going to pass away. It's the grief that you feel while they're still there, but you know what's going to happen. But I think anticipatory grief can be so much more than just, oh, I know this person is going to pass away. It can also be what you're talking about, of fading, of I have this person in my life, I love them so much, and they're not going away physically anytime soon, but I'm losing them. And there's nothing I can do to stop that. And it's a hard thing to deal with. No one really teaches you how to handle those emotions because it's just not something that we talk about. So yeah, it's definitely a huge. Caregiving has such a large mental load, and that's one of the
That's a good
big
description. Mental load. Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say, but you made me think of something. When you talked about anticipatory grief, and the resentment and the anger and the exhaustion and all those things that people don't know about caregiving. Someone once told me that it's also chronic anxiety. We have anxiety too. I mean, how could we not? Everybody has some little bit of anxiety. It just depends on whether it's on a scale from 1 to 10. It's a 1 or a 10 or a 5 and how you can function with it. But someone once told me, and I love this description, that what causes our stress as a caregiver that no one can really understand or describe is if you're driving and a car swerves and you kind of go crazy. Oh my gosh. And then when the person doesn't hit you and you come out of it, you're like, oh, shit, I'm going to make it to Walmart after all. And you go back to status. We don't go back to status because of that anticipatory grief. In my book, it's not so much the person dying, but with mental health, see, it's different. There's the difference a little bit between dementia and mental health. With mental health is my loved one going to stop taking their medicine? Are they going to become suicidal? Are they, what's going to happen? And so that's my anticipatory grief, that he's lost control of, that he's in a pretty good place. Stay there. And I'm like, oh dear, when's he going to go off and say, I think I'll try to not take medicine anymore. The car's always ready to hit you. Yeah. It's just always ready. And we don't, as caregivers, and like I mentioned, I've got my husband in this end of the hall and my son in that end. I'm like a ping pong ball. I'm going to go, what am I going to do today? This mental health or this dementia? And so there's always there's never that shoulders down. Let me have another cup of coffee. I got this, because the car is always getting ready to swerve. And when the car misses me in the scenario, I never come back to status because there's always another car coming. Yeah. And that's really hard to do. And that's why people throw the word self-care around loosely. People go, what's this self-care stuff you people talk about? Going to the movies or drawing in a coloring book? Well, if you could settle it out and it really hone in on what it means to you, not just what other people tell you to do, that's the most important thing of caregiving, because I don't ever put my shoulders down, and I don't exhale. And there are sometimes I will say to someone, I exhaled today. It was a good day. I exhaled. But we have to make ourselves do it. It doesn't happen unless we make ourselves do it.
Yeah. What you were talking about before we started filming about the Venn diagram of mental illness and dementia and being right in the middle. I do feel like in a lot of what we are talking about is stuff that both people who struggle with mental health and caregivers alike can relate to, of that Venn diagram, you are right in the middle of just it's a mental load. It's sometimes really hard to find ways to care for yourself and practice that self-care and find ways to exhale.
And you can't just go do it because
Mhm.
you always have to come back down the driveway
Yeah.
and get out at your own house with those same own people
Yeah.
that desperately need you to
Mhm.
be on,
Yeah.
not off. Yeah. Something else that just reminded me of, I wanted to share, having to do with emotions. Sometimes my anger, grief, resentment, sadness, all those emotions
Yeah.
come from the fact that I'm investing so much time with this part of my life
Mhm.
that it becomes my life.
Yeah.
And I need my life to still be my life, and this is part of it. And I think
Mhm.
people don't realize that caregivers go through that. It's all coming back to that first question, isn't
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Wow, I love this. What people don't understand about caregivers is that we are so consumed
Mhm.
that we forget we have our own life.
Yeah.
We forget to be happy. We forget to get excited about something. And then there's the biggest piece of all that I didn't mention that I just thought of. It's the rest of our family. I have a son in Colorado who's getting married. I'm so excited, but I sort of guarded excited because my son may or may not be able to make the trip because the anxiety of all those people he hasn't seen in years that are going to be, "Hi, what are you doing? Your brother's doing this job and this job, and he went to school. What are you doing?" Well, there's no story.
Yeah.
And so that anticipatory grief for me to know I'm going there, and if he's there, they're going to ask him, and I'm going to be worried the whole time about how he's feeling. If he's not there, they're going to ask me where he is.
Yeah.
So, for the one thing I think people need to understand is it encompasses every facet of your life.
It does.
It really, really does. And you have to give time to the rest of your family.
Yeah.
Without just being so consumed. I'll call you back. I'll call you back because he needs this or he needs this. Sometimes just go to them or just pick up the phone and say, "Hey." And if they say, "Hey, what's going on?" Don't let on. That's part of the being strong. They don't need to be burdened. We talk about this in our group sometime. The sibling, the mother, who they don't need to be burdened, even though we're desperate to share it. We're desperate to offload it
Yeah.
with anybody who will listen, but they're trying to live their life. So that's something that we've talked about. That's a whole chapter in a book.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Whenever you write this book, I definitely
Yeah, let's
read
write it
yeah.
together.
So talking a little bit about those emotions, um, and the mental load that caregiving takes on, it often leads to stress and burnout. How can that prolonged stress and burnout from caregiving affect someone, both the caregiver and the care receiver?
I think we just sort of touched on it just a minute ago of the car swerving, because you're always stressed. It affects. I think it affects me mostly, um, in having to actually tell myself right now, right here in the moment, when my husband does something that he used to could do, and I'm used to him doing it, and some days he actually can, which is like, whoa, mind blowing. But that's dementia. You can, you can't. Um, I think it affects me by I'm always on high alert that something's going to happen, and it just keeps me kind of like not in the moment of going, of being able to say to myself, don't fuss at him. Don't show you're frustrated, even though you really are as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
But the prolonged stress has almost taught me to be too reactive to him because I just want it all to stop. You know, that stress should stop the world. I want to get off. But I think being on high alert, you can be quicker to anger.
Yeah.
You can be quicker because it's like what is the part to serotonin? What is the thing that makes you tell me? Whatever, I can't think of it now. But I think the part of you that reacts rather than responds is always on high alert because that anticipatory. You don't know what's going to happen.
Mhm.
But for long stress, I mean, I think everybody knows this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I've done a lot of work now learning because I used to think, oh, that's not true that you can have heart problems and high blood pressure and all. Here's your body, here's your mind. You know, before we start talking, it's all one. But years ago, I was like, oh, come on. But I will tell you that when my son was really, really struggling in 2012, when he started, and he was suicidal and he had to go get lots of help. I went for my yearly checkup and the doctor said, "Dear Lord, you haven't popped yet. You have high blood pressure out the roof. You need to get on medication." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm just high energy. This is me." And he's like, "Yeah, but it's shown on the chart, darling." And you got it. So I had to go on blood pressure medicine. I'm like, "What is this all about?" I remember being so I just did not understand that prolonged stress. And now I've learned all those systems. It's fascinating, but scary.
Yeah.
I've learned when people say that, they really mean it. It can affect your health. It can. And even those people listening may say, "Oh, we already knew that." Well, I'm a living example of it really can, and it really does. And the doctor says, "You better." And that's when I started learning more about me. I have to take care of me before I can, because I think all the time, what if I go down? Then what? The refrigerator door is going to stand open. The lawn's not going to get mowed. All those things I fuss at, they're just going to go on. And so I think the prolonged stress affects us so much. And we can also be fussy with other people.
Yeah.
Why is she, what's wrong with her? Well, let me tell you. No, don't ask. And I think what I said earlier too is it becomes your life, and you become this person that's always on high alert.
Yeah. And how do you think that stress and burnout can also affect the person receiving care?
They see it, they read it, they know it, they feel it. Yeah, that's all. I mean, they feel it.
It's like a mirror.
Yeah, that's true. And I'll tell you, and here's why I know there's been a huge difference between 2012 and now with my son. He can feel the shoulders go up. He can feel I'm trying not to say anything. He can literally sense my brain trying to reframe, reword to be kinder, nicer, gentler, and more caring and give him grace. And so what has happened like I said, I went back to school and I'm taking these really cool classes at UVA. They're all psych classes and neuroscience. And the biggest one I took, I'm just finished. It's a psychology class on neuroscience, and it talks about adjustment. We just have, everything in life is an adjustment. So what I learned in this class is fantastic, was if you make little adjustments and if you train, it was really cool. It talked about training your mind to train your brain. So if you make little adjustments in your mind, you can really train your brain to stop reacting to things and to stop. And so I think that affected my son, because he knew. I could tell by the look in his eyes. He's like, "Oh, she's ticked. She's mad. She doesn't really realize why I can't." But now, all these years later, with learning, with educating myself, going to support groups, talking to people such as yourself, I can now look at him and go, "It's okay. It's okay. It's really okay." But Dad's really mad because I didn't mow the lawn. So then I have to play interference. I have to go. So, and remember, he's not quite thinking like he used to. So I go to him and I say, "So can the lawn wait till tomorrow? He's not in a good place." Well, he was yesterday. So that's another role that people don't know about caregivers. If you have not just my husband with dementia, but anybody's husband who's typically functioning is not going to get, "Why is my child in the bedroom? He's a smart, bright, athletic, wonderful person. Why is he, was he just lazy?" We have to get over all that, because lazy is not a word that even, probably, but we have to remember that the person struggling is reading everything we say. So what's beautiful, and that comes with what's good about all this, I have literally evolved. People have said that to me. "You evolved." I'm like, "Into what?" "A crazy person." But literally, people have said, "I have seen you transform in a nicer way, kinder, gently." Instead of facing my day, I now embrace my day. I get up and I go, "I got this." And 10 minutes later, I've screwed up, but I embrace it. And so anyway, that was a wonderful question. They're all wonderful questions. You don't ever relax, but the person, you have to know the person could, just like they tell people when they're in a coma, they can hear you. Talk to them nicely. Don't say, "I wonder when he's going to talk." And so I've learned to be gentle with my son. And now guess what my son does when he walks down the hall? He stops wherever I am and he wraps me up. He says, "I love you, Mama." I'm like, I could cry right now. "I love you, Mama." And because he says that now, I know he gets that I have changed. He can't change. Yeah, I got to be the one. And that's tough.
That is.
That's really, it's a tall order, but we're up for it.
Caregivers are strong people.
We're up for it.
We've touched on this, but how does caregiving impact mental health over time if support isn't in place? I know we've discussed, you can't say, oh, you don't know how to let go, and that can then lead to health problems. But is there any more that you could kind of share on that?
Speaking for myself, I think I was just running around like a chicken with my head cut off because I was trying this and trying that, and I just didn't. I wasn't getting support because I didn't think I needed it. And I think that's a lot of people's thing is they don't know they need. I got this. And another thing is I was working, so my focus was on my work, and I could leave it. And then I would come home, and there was a short period of dinner to bed time, and I could leave it. I could get up the next morning and leave it, but leaving it behind was easy because that was my out. But I think people have to have supports because, like we said, it's going to affect health. What it affects mainly over time, if you don't get support, and like I said, my support right now is going back to school. If you don't find something that is uniquely you, then the burnout's going to show in the way you treat the person, the way you treat other people, your health. So I really think for me, the key was finding what was unique to me, what was good for me. And what was good for me was something I never slowed down long enough to look at, which was the what about me became what about me? Wait a minute. What about me changing me in my, I just kind of whirlwind through life and everything's going great. But when all of a sudden, and I've always been a person that cared for people because I worked with students with severe disabilities, but I never thought I was going to take it home with me. So I can be real compassionate 8 hours a day because I absolutely loved. I never met a child I didn't absolutely want to take home as my own. But then all of a sudden, over time, and I get home and it's me, and I'm like, oh. And I didn't have any supports in place for myself because I did this all my life. I care for people and people that raise their children. I think I know what I'm doing. But I think over time, if you don't get supports for yourself, and people don't really want to because they don't want to go. People in our group all the time say, I have a therapist. And people, you have a therapist? It's not like it used to be. If you have a therapist, that means something's wrong with you. Oh, no. I think if you have a therapist, something's right with you. Yeah. I think you're smart enough and secure enough, too, to be able to say, what are they used to say therapists have therapists?
All the best therapists have therapists.
Yes, my head man or my from the neck up, check up from the neck up guy. And so we don't say it in NAMI meetings because we're really not supposed to advise or with therapize, whatever the words you want to use, or diagnose. But we will say, do you have someone that you talk to? And sort of hint at, maybe a person that knows, these things. And what we mean is therapist, but we don't try to tell people what to do. We just offer. But having a therapist that you can talk to is probably a really good thing. And I don't myself, but I have found, like I said, you just wouldn't believe what it's done for my son. I think communicating is huge. Just say to people, I hurt really bad. Can we talk? And seek out people that are also struggling because they get it. Nobody else really gets it. And they'll listen, but they'll just be doing, where should we go to lunch? And you're like, I'm dying inside. You don't get that, do you? So, yeah.
The largest part of getting that support is recognizing that you need support and going out of your way to start the ball rolling on that because it's hard to tell people that you're struggling.
Well, it's admitting you have a weakness, and who wants to do that?
Exactly.
And I have said to my husband, and bless his soul at home, but I have said, I can't do this anymore. Literally. I mean, how horrible is that? I can't do this anymore. I can't go back to the refrigerator light because that's an easy one. I can't do this anymore. And I can read my own cues now. Don't say that out loud ever again. Say in your brain, I can't do this anymore, and figure out. A professor once told me the most important 3 words of my life. It's not I love you, but that should be it. All the, mumbo jumbo school, big words and college. He said the 3 most important words I could ever use if I would just remember them are try another way. And I think that's what this class in neuroscience and adjustment has taught me that you have to get calm in here first. Then the world can spin around you and you can stay centered. And I can stay centered for about half a minute and I'm good. But that half a minute, I couldn't in 2012. Baby steps, right? They say baby steps.
We kind of covered caregiver burnout. We covered what that means, what that's like. Is there a time that obviously you've experienced your fair share of times where you have hit that wall? You're like, I can't do this anymore. Um, what do you think helped you through that? I know you talked a little bit about, going up on a drive through the mountains, but what would you say to other people for, hey, here's, something you should know about burnout and how to manage it?
That's a good one because I always go back to my faith.
Mhm.
I go back to where I center and where nobody can touch me because it's me.
Yeah.
And I do believe firmly that that's where we have to start. No matter what if you don't have faith, there's something else. There's something that can help you center yourself. One of the things I do a lot is, well, I think everyone should have the privilege of having a dog and any kind of animal, even if it's go out in the back. And I yell at the squirrels to get away from the bird food. So nature is what I'm trying to say. If you just go out, if you go outside just for a minute and look up at the trees and look at the clouds, just ponder things that are way bigger than you, that take your mind completely in another direction and get you to appreciate who you are and where you are. Like I said, I've really, people can give you that list. Go to a knitting class, learn another language, all these things. And you can say, somebody told me do yoga. And I said, my parts don't bend like that. Forget that. But like it's just what you said too. People can tell you, list, do this, do this, do this, do this. Do more of what makes you happy. Yeah. So that's it right there. You got to do more of what makes you happy and try your hardest not to feel like, I'm going back down. I took a drive. I took a walk. Now I'm going back to it because you won't be any better.
Yeah.
You just won't. If you've reframed your mind for the time you were gone, but you're dreading going back, it's not going to help. So I would suggest that to not hurry it. It's a long, slow process of getting to know. And that's the other thing that's really, really needs to be clear, I think, to people is find out who you are.
Yeah.
Find out who you are. Don't be afraid of it. Other people might say things along your life where you go, oh, they're wrong. I'm not really that way. As opposed to, too many people have said that. Maybe I am that way. And maybe figure out who you are. I think the strategy that centers you the most, whatever that may be. And the other thing is to realize, you have to work at it. You have to say, you have to self-talk. My husband was a sports psychologist before his accident, and self-talk for athletes. I'm injured. I have to talk myself. Telling yourself, I need to think about the other person and what must they be feeling? What must my husband feel when I say, you got to shut the refrigerator door? Da, 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 da. And he's thinking, oh, I thought I just did. Or, well, I'm just going to take my pills out and measure them, which is 15 minutes. They don't have the concept. And we're still going a million miles an hour.
Yeah.
And they've slowed. And my son, his mental health disorder is also a thought disorder. So his thoughts are not always correct and rational. And I have to remember that it's me, not him. I have to go, he can't remember. He can't think. And I don't mean totally not and total. I don't mean tone, but I'm saying the two non-strengths, if you will, or he has difficulty remembering. He has difficulty sorting his thoughts out. So I have to do it for them. And even though, and that's where you got to get centered in here, because if you're all, and you don't have a centered place, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And then you just run around yourself, and then you got 3 people running around crazy. But to answer your question, I think you have to center yourself. And it's hard because I'm saying that, but people know, what do you mean, center yourself? Well, do more of what makes you happy, and you'll find your center. Because the tangible going and doing may not help, because you always have to come back. So what needs to be done in my mind, my personal experience is, when I come back, I have to be okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to come back to that same thing, and they're going to drop levels, and I have to be ready. I have to put my feet on the floor and I have to go into battle. My son went to Australia, and he sent me this picture on his phone years ago. And this is some beautiful, I don't know, Kilimanjaro. I don't know what's it, Australia, but he sent me this picture. Made me think of it when you were talking. Um, and on his phone, he texted me and he said, "I'm going to climb that mountain tomorrow." And I was like, I was right in the throes. He didn't know because, again, family stays here and my heartache stays here.
Yeah.
And I did what he had no idea the power of, I'm going to climb this mountain tomorrow. And so I keep it in my bathroom. And every night before I go to bed, I'm like, I finished for today. I've done all I can do. I'm going to put it on the shelf, but I'm going to climb that mountain tomorrow. Every day there's a mountain to climb. But the good news is we're willing to get up and do it. Yeah. And slide down a little bit and keep climbing back up.
And the other good news is that you don't necessarily have to reach the peak every single day.
That's right. Maybe your perfection level needs to drop a little bit. It's okay if the refrigerator door stays open a little bit longer. It's okay if the lawn doesn't get mowed in a week, half of it's high and half of it's low. You got to lower your standards a little bit, because I expect people to lower them for me when I'm not on, right?
Yeah.
But we can't transpose that to other people.
It's hard. It's a hard skill to learn.
Well, yeah, because you know this. We only see life from our lens. We do not see it from theirs as much as we want to pretend we do.
Yeah.
We see the same expectations we always have, because that's how we knew that person before all this happened.
Yeah.
And we forget minute by minute, it's not happening anymore. But yeah, we want people to give us grace, don't we? That's the part, the hard part. We want it, but we can't give it.
So to kind of change it up a little bit, how can caregivers recognize the early warning signs that they are approaching burnout?
Early warning signs. No exhale. I would say, and this is a sad one and a hard one, but it's true. But when you dread the day, when you get up in the morning and you're like, and you wake up with an ache and just and you want to go back to bed. You just don't want to get up because you know it might be Groundhog Day or worse. And you're going to be repeating everything and it's going to be worse. And that feeling that I have to constantly stay one step ahead. And when does my brain get to relax and not worry about what I say and how I say it? I think to me, you're approaching burnout if you're snapping at people, if you're just not able to focus. My son will say, if you can't do your daily tasks very easily, because you're so distracted, you're just not able to focus anymore. Yeah. You've used yourself up. That's just for me. I'm sure there's a million other ones, but those are my warning signs that I need to have my cup of coffee and my cup that says, "Don't talk to me. Just let me have some silence." Silence is absolutely wonderful.
And when caregivers are seeing those signs, or whatever signs it might be for them specifically, what do you think the next steps are? What do you think that you should try? I know we talked about like the day-to-day, get out in nature, find what makes you happy, but when might it be time to kind of look further than that? Maybe look for more support.
When you get to that point of you can't function, you just go, I can't do this anymore. When I say to myself, I can't do this anymore. I'm trying to think the things that I do that I've other people have said, and the counselor thing does come up, that it's not stigmatizing anymore. It's actually empowering to have a counselor, and have someone that can help you sort of look at all this and put it into some semblance of order, so that chaos is my order. You can tell my mind. But I think if you feel maybe your own symptoms of depression or anxiety or things that are tipping your own scale, I would say, it's time to get to that support group. It's time to call somebody, or maybe even call an old friend. I called my old principal when I was first teaching and found her. And she was like, "Oh my gosh." And anyway, I call somebody that could use a call. And I always say this, when you're finding you're burning out and you need to do something because you're going nuts, go do something for somebody else.
Yeah.
I have the friend that I take care of a horse for a gentleman that's in one of the local assisted livings. And I go see him
Mhm.
because he's like, oh, I'm so glad you came. I'm so glad. And he's just giddy.
Yeah.
And his lady friend, they're so giddy that we came. And then 10 minutes later, well, I'm going to sleep now. And it's so cute. But it to give yourself to someone else is really empowering in your own. It's not that you're doing it to feel better about yourself, but yet when you do something for someone else, even just text somebody, say, hey, I'm thinking about you today.
Mhm.
The fact that they're being thought of.
Yeah.
Caregiving for somebody else. Everybody needs a caregiver in some way. So
Absolutely.
doing something for somebody else.
Yeah.
But reach out. Just get out of your head. Get out of your head immediately. However, you need to get out of your head.
Yeah, and I mean, since we're on the Java podcast, I do feel like it's important to say if you're a caregiver and if, I mean, no matter where you are on the caregiving journey, no matter how early on you are, how late you are in it, Java has support systems. You can call us.
Mhm.
You can call our hotline. You can call and get resources, get support. We have multiple support groups. We have a speaker series. There's all kinds of stuff that we do. So if lots of yeah, if you are reaching that point where you are waking up and you are dreading the day, give us a call. Somebody can give you some type of resources, and even if we might not have something at Java that can benefit you, we can help you find resources. We can help you find something else that can help you.
There are also warm lines.
Mm-hmm.
NAMI of the National Alliance for Mental Illness that I work with. We have a warm line that you can call, and it gets routed to me, and I will spend as long as you need on the phone, and that's my time to just listen. No advice, just what can I do to help you? What kind of resources do you need? And then in that warm line call or in just looking up NAMI, we're considered NAMI Blue Ridge Charlottesville. That's kind of our thing. To look up NAMI and find NAMI Blue Ridge Charlottesville, people can see that we have support groups.
Yeah.
We have support groups for mental health conditions. We have family support groups. And then there's places in town that peers can go if they're struggling. Every Thursday night, we're at the center having support groups for mom, dad, sister, brother. We invite sisters and brothers of the loved one. And we have speakers. We have a speaker series, which is really good. Speakers come. We have Ask the Psychiatrist.
Mhm.
The psychiatrist will come. And then on the fourth Thursday, we do Zoom, which is left over from COVID. But we have a gal from the French British island. She lives in, Martinique. And then we have a gal who jets off to Ireland. She's wonderful. So we have an international Zoom. It's really cool. Yeah, doing things like that, reaching out to an organization such as Java, such as NAMI, and seeing, because there's nothing more comforting than sitting in a room where this is the worst club I ever wanted to join. Wow. But when I say, oh, my husband did this and my son did that, everybody gets it and everybody feels it. And no one's just going, oh, yes. And they're really going to hurry up. I got something to say. So they feel it to the core.
Yeah.
So, yeah, reaching out to organizations, there's a lot of them in town. Everything's at your fingertips nowadays. And we have in person and we have Zoom, and you guys do too. I know that. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to say something about NAMI. But when you're really burned out and you're really sad and scared, and I'm over it, I'm just over this. If you sit in a room with other people, it comforts you. It really does. In a weird way, it's comforting.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, I would say, is seek out humor. Seek out humor.
Is the best medicine.
Laughter will cure everything. Anything that makes you laugh.
Definitely. Those numbers and contacts will be in the show notes wherever you're listening to this, so that you can just click a link and it'll take you straight there. We spent a lot of time today talking about the negatives of caregiving and the negative emotions that we feel and how it can be really hard. But I feel like it's also really important that we focus on the good side of caregiving and how rewarding it can be for people. Do you have any moments that you could share for you of how it has been rewarding or given you purpose, or just like even in the bad, you've been able to see the good?
When you just said the word purpose, it's given me purpose. My purpose, I retired to go live on that island with my margarita. And now I've got, I don't know how many events this week and NAMI meetings, and working with NAMI. I get up, I go out, I feed the horse for my friend, and boom, I'm off to a meeting. And my husband's like, it's just like you're working. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm working because I want to, not because I have to. I will die trying to help people understand, become more educated, and whatever the words are that encompass this life I'm living, to be better for themselves and be better for their loved one. And that's, you said it. The other thing too that's been so positive is it's taught me grace. It's taught me so much grace. Oh my gosh, as much as high energy as I am usually, it has taught me the grace just to step back. Just step back and sometimes let it be. And another really, really positive thing is it's brought me closer to my family, because my other two sons, now nothing, knew nothing. They live in one in Colorado, one in Northern Virginia, and they are living their best life, thinking I'm living my best life. And rather than burden them, I try to educate them, and I invite them to come share so they can see, because understanding it helps acceptance. So I'm trying to educate them. It's taught me to be more thoughtful of what I say and how I say it. That's the biggest thing. Shut the door, shut the refrigerator door. Here, let me help you with that. Or not even, you know how much the electric bill? It's taught me to say, not can I do it for you, but can I help you with that? It's taught me to reframe. Like I said earlier, you change your mind, you change your brain. My mind is filled with ways to not make them feel any worse than they already do. And to do that, sure, I'm exhausted at the end of the day, but now it's starting to come easier. I'm starting to feel myself be able to even my son's like, Mom, you said that really good to Dad. You didn't make him mad. I'm like, thanks a lot. And so my son is even noticing there's a difference in the way I frame things, and that my husband doesn't get triggered by it, or he doesn't get triggered by it. So yeah, I think you do have to look for the positives, because it can be very sad, very scary, very lonely. But I don't sit and think about when my husband's going to die. I refuse. I'm not. I tell people I'm not going down with that ship. We're all going to die, for goodness sakes. Yeah. And I could die when I walk out of here, get hit by a bus. Where's the woods and not going? And so I'm not going there. I'm not. So the positive is, and that's one of the positives of this experience. My husband may go sooner than me. My son may struggle, who knows how long and how much more severe, or not. I would say, what if the good, not what if the bad. And so I think it's taught me to live in this moment, right here, right now, because it's going to be gone, but I always look at the what if something good happens, instead of, well, there's no cure, there's no this, there's no that. Well, there's no cure for when my husband was killed on the road, by the way, when he was hit by the drunk driver, and a guy riding by on a bicycle coming from the hospital brought him back to life. What if that hadn't happened? I always say my 3 boys would look different if he'd have died that night. There's the humor. You gotta go there. But I feel like this journey we're on teaches us grace and humility, but we have to let it teach us that and stop fighting it. Definitely. I think fighting it is what gets us into that resentment, that anger, and all those things. We just have to stop fighting it. Let it go. And then I wear bracelets. You can get them online. They're really cool. I forgot I have this bracelet on, and it says, Still I Rise. It's engraved inside. And so you got to rise. They'll fight it. Just get up and live another day and climb that mountain. It'll get easier. Yeah. It'll get easier if you're centered inside.
It's like you can't run a marathon after, you can't go couch to marathon.
That's right.
You have to do training.
You have to.
And the more you do it, the better it's going to get. And the easier it's going to get.
You got it. And keep trying another way. Because there isn't one way. That's what people want to hear. How to give me a strategies list. Yep. But there's not one way. So you have to look deeper into yourself than you ever did. Or you ever wanted to.
Yeah. Key.
Yes. Yes. Just look in there. Because there's good in everybody. You just got to find it. Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for being here, Susanna. It was an amazing conversation. Yeah. I hope that everyone listening had an amazing conversation as well with us. So
I hope you too. Thank you for having me. Anytime.
Of course. And that is all. See you all next time.